Hi, welcome to Seashell Mosaic. My name is Shawn Dell Joyce, and I am presenting this to you on behalf of Tuxedo Public Library and through the generous funding of the RCLS Outreach Grant. Today, we're going to make a beautiful seashell heart project like this one. And we're basing it on kits that you received thanks to the generous help of the library. So I'm going to draw your attention to my workspace and show you what's in the kit. So first you'll see there's some instructions. And on the inside is a frame and a template. The template is the shape of our mosaic. Put it right underneath the frame and then have the directions set out where you can see them so that if I am moving too quickly, you can refer to the step-by-step directions. In addition to this, you will have some seashells of different types, a popsicle stick, and a little container of glue. The glue is actually a clear acrylic medium. It's called Studio Heavy Gel Medium. And it's basically the same thing as paint, but without any color. If you happen to have some school glue, and this is dollar store glue, but you can use any type of glue, Elmer's glue, anything similar, that will also help. Now, you can incorporate bits of sea glass or special seashells, or maybe some things that you've been saving for years. Mementos from a family vacation, anything you want to into your project. We're going to start by using either the glue with a stick and spreading it in the shape of the heart, or using some school glue and outlining the heart. Now this gives you the overall shape like the template and will help you to line up your mosaic. The trick with the mosaic is that you want to keep everything inside the heart. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue on top of the glass. Now, any type of clear glue will work. Even a glue stick will work, hot glue. Not the kind of glue stick that you use on paper. That won't work on glass. But any kind of a clear acrylic glue will do just fine for this portion. So what I have done is I've traced the shape of the heart onto the glass, so I can still see the template through the glass. Now I'm going to start placing some of the sea glass. I look for pieces that are flat, that have a lot of surface that can sit close and tight on the glass. So we want it to adhere to the glass. So you want to have pieces that are flatter. So I'm starting off with a piece that's flat, and I'm positioning it, since it's a curved piece, I'm positioning it on a curved part of the mosaic. Then I'm going to find a piece that'll fit right next to it, keeping that curved line. And all of the pieces I'm using are fairly flat, and I'm keeping that edge right along the outside edge. Now you may have some chunks like this. These are a little bit too heavy and don't have a whole lot of surface, so they won't work well for this project. Instead, look for flatter pieces that aren't so chunky, and those we can fit into the shapes. Notice that I start along the outer edge first, and then fill in between with other pieces. Now we want to keep the sea glass all in one place so that when the light shines through the sea glass, you get this beautiful reflection through the glass. Let me show you what that looks like. See how the sea glass all bunched together, lets light show through. And that's what we're looking for. So I'm bunching all my sea glass in one place. Next, I'm going to move to the shells. And I want to start by placing some of the big shells first. So that way, I'm still keeping the edge of the heart. The most important thing is not to lose that edge. That's what gives the mosaic its shape. So I'm going to find some shells that will help me keep the edge. Now, you want to keep your bigger shells towards the middle, and heavy shells, make sure they have some flat surface so that when you put something flat, it has some way to grab a hold of the glass. You need to have a flat surface up against that glass. The flatter the shell, or the flatter the area, the better it will stick to your mosaic. So once I have the outer edge, then I can start to place shells more towards the middle. It's good to have an assortment of small shells as well as larger shells for this project. So any of those little baby shells you've been holding on to, or even old pieces of jewelry, would work wonderful for this. Put that piece right in the middle. Okay, now I'm going to start filling in the gaps. It's okay to have gaps on the inside of the heart. It's the outer edge that we want to keep as straight as possible. Now, take your time with this. When you're using school glue, it takes a while for it to set up and dry. So you can play with the shells, move them around, and have a little fun. Okay, so at this point, I have most of my shells in place. I have the big ones towards the center, and you can still see the good sharp edges. Just to be sure, I'm gonna shore up my edges, make sure that you can see the straight edge of the heart, make sure that it curves. And then I'm going to take some of that school glue and just pour it right on. Now, the school glue, you really don't have to worry about getting too thick. It's going to act like grout on tile and hold some of these shells in place. So it's okay if you wind up covering all the shells. And it's okay if parts of the shells get covered and parts don't. This is really just a binder to hold the shells together. So the more you use, the better. You're just pouring it in between the great big heavy shells. And that really helps keep the shells stuck in the same design that you place them. Also, this type of school glue will mix well with the heavy gel that we're going to be putting on the outer edge. So the two work well together. Any kind of water-based glue will work for this. Okay, so that has enough glue in between that it'll hold the shells in place. Let me give you a close-up look. So you can see there's a big puddle of glue. It looks very opaque right now. The glue covers some of the shells, not all of them. Don't worry. As soon as this glue dries, it will dry clear and you won't see it in between the shells. This project was done the exact same way, and you really can't see any opaque glue in between shells. You can see right here, that's all glue. Okay, now we're going to move to the heavy gel medium. This is the heavy gel medium, and it's in a small container, like a condiment container for you. And we'll be using a popsicle stick to apply it. If you don't have a popsicle stick, you can use a plastic spoon or a plastic knife or a palette knife if you happen to have a palette knife laying around the house. The next part is a lot like frosting a cupcake. So you're going to take a scoop of the heavy gel medium like this, and we're going to apply it to the glass. Now, the purpose of this is texture only. So you don't have to worry about getting it on the frame or getting it too close to the shells. You want to go right up to the heart. You can overlap the other glue. The two will mix. And then just smooth it. This is the texture. I like to overlap the frame too, because that helps to hold the glass in place. Now, you probably want to go pretty thin with it, because the thinner you go, the quicker it'll dry. And you want to stretch it out. Now, keep in mind that when it dries, it's going to look something like this. It'll be clear, rough texture. So all you're going to see is texture. That helps it look more like stained glass and resin. So it goes on white, but it dries clear. So we'll be using every little bit that's in your kit. If you have fun doing this project and you want to do projects with your neighbors or friends or family, you can go to any hobby store or order it online. And again, this is called heavy gel medium. Heavy gel medium. And it's a clear acrylic, much like an acrylic paint, but without any pigment. Now, I caution you, don't put any paint in with this. If you do, it'll become opaque and you won't be able to see the sunlight through it. It'll react just the same as putting regular paint on the glass. So stick to the clear acrylic gel. Now you can texture in patterns. I'm putting a scalloped edge on this. You can put it in circles. You can bring it straight down. You could even use a fork and put lines on it like you would a pie crust. Think of it as frosting. You're spreading frosting on a cupcake. You could also sprinkle a handful of glitter in with it or some sand. And that would give some nice texture to the background as well. I love just the clear acrylic texture. So I'm going to keep it simple and just have some swirls. Now, as you work your way around, you want to make sure that you're overlapping the shells. And it's okay if you pick up a little bit of the other glue, and then make sure you're overlapping the frame. Now, you can do many different variations on this theme. If you don't have enough seashells, you can use your great grandmother's costume jewelry. You can use beans and pasta. You can use broken teacups and china, bits of cloth, and anything small that can be glued. And it's fun to play and make some interesting memories out of this. If you have a vacation at the seashore and you want to have a nice memory of that vacation or give a gift to your kids or your parents, you know, this would be a nice way to commemorate it with the shells you collected. I've made these with shark's tooth and starfish and all kinds of goodies that I found on the beach. So once you have the whole bit of glass covered with the clear gel, the gel medium, and again, this is heavy gel medium. So once you have the whole surface of it, you can let this sit in a place where the cat won't step on it and it can be undisturbed. Now, after an hour or two, it will still look like this. So it's going to take a little while for it to dry. It may take a day or two, depending on the humidity in the air. But once the project is dry, it will become clear and you'll be able to see light through it. Now, some variations on the same theme include a wave. This is a wave pattern. See all the sea glass up at the top and the sea treasures down below. This is the same texture that we just applied. See how pretty it is when it dries. Here's a starfish. So it's the same process. You use a straight edge to keep those lines in place and use the same texture. And here I use some glass marbles, but you could use bits of sea glass, shells, found objects, anything that you might have. When you're finished, hang your finished piece in a window and let it be a sun catcher. This is a really fun project to do with children or grandchildren, or even invite your neighbor over for a cup of coffee and some craft time. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure and thank the Tuxedo Public Library and RCLS for funding this project. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. My name is Shawn Dell Joyce. Bye-bye.